Hello everybody, welcome to Painting for Pleasure. I'm your host Tony Visco, and we're going to play around with people today. There's a couple of ways to handle people. One is, and we're going to take a little bit of over here, one is to do certain types of characteristic shapes, and what's popular in a lot of cases is a shape that's considered a carrot shape. So if we take a little bit of the, let's say this is the head and shoulders that come out here, and we'll just sort of bring down a figure like this, so that it's simply, all I'm doing is I'm bringing this into a shape like a carrot. All right, so we have a little bit of an area right there that I just moved this up. I was going to sketch that out and then we'll paint it. That's one possibility. We can put those in, they're unassuming, put them in the background, and really nobody's going to know what's going on. I mean, other than the fact that they're going to sort of look like a people. Because if this is a carrot shape, you know, halfway down the carrot shape, this is the legs, about somewhere right here. The upper part of that is the torso. So that's the torso and these are the legs. And you can see once I put the torso in, or this line in, you can start to get a definition of what happens with legs, all right, which is down here. And some of the best ways to do it is just to keep them together. And then the arms sort of fall off and come down here to the sides, let's say, and they come down about right here. Now this would be considered a guy, that carrot shape. Why? Because of the slim hips, broad shoulders, slim hips, upper torso, carrot shape coming down. If I were going to do a woman and I was going to do the same thing in a carrot shape, all right, what would happen here is that I'd come down, but then at this point right here, my hips are going to have to start to come out and then come back down. So it's sort of, instead of a carrot shape, what happens? We got these almost, I don't know, two shields like, or sort of diamond shapes that are over here. The hips are out here, and that would be more indicative of a woman with the legs coming down here if they were together. Okay, head's up here, head up here. Now you don't want to make the heads too tall. What you want to try to do is to keep this all in proportion. And again, this is the shoulder. Arms would come down here. So if a person was standing pretty straight and pretty still, it would sort of look something similar to that. So that's one of the ways. My probably preference is to sort of do the head and cock the shoulder. So if I'm cocking the shoulder this way, going from lower left to upper right, or vice versa, but let's take it this way, and come down where the hips are, I'd probably move the hips just the opposite. Okay, so in that case, what happens is that you have the cavity, the frame here, your chest cavity would be up over here, the stomach would be down in this area here, crotch would be somewhere in this area, and the legs, we can now animate them. We can bring them out and put one here. Okay, so this gives us a little bit more flexibility in terms of putting figures together. And again, the head's got to be in proportion to everything else. You don't want to make the head too big. You don't want to make it too small. What you want to do is to just make sure that everything looks okay. So if this is my underdrawing, essentially what ends up happening here is that the hips would be just the opposite. Shoulders are going up, hips from the left to the right, then the hips are going to go higher on the left-hand side and come down, just the opposite of the shoulders. All right? It will give you the ability to create a lot more animation in your figures when you put them in. So according to, in something similar to this, we can put clothing on here and do all kinds of stuff. The same thing that would happen if I was just going to do it the other way. My head would be up in this area here, and let's do it just the opposite. All right, so we'll bring this down, and I'm gonna stretch the arm out this way, and we'll end up doing something like this, because again, what happens is that you have a chest cavity right here, and you'd end up having a little larger area in here because you'd have the breastplate up in this area here. If it were a woman coming down, your hips would be a little larger, and it's going to be higher and coming down this way here. So you can have something sort of more like this. And the skirt could be down here, no problem. All right. So you can see how it would basically have a female relationship to a female shape. Okay, so there's a series of, from starting it with a carrot to a carrot and a shield shape, or you know, this bottom here sort of looks like a diamond, this area here, going into cocking the hips and shoulders so that they're more realistic, and they would work out pretty much that way. So just so that you have an idea as to how to create some of these, we put those in, and I'm going to pick up a brush, and we'll pick up a small brush here. And let me just go over here and wet the brush a little bit, and we'll just start to put in some area. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in, and we'll start with the head. All right, and what I'm going to do is mix a little bit of my, let's say my upper rows together. If we'll do this as a flesh tone, not the upper rows together with my Naples yellow. So see, this is the color that I'm going to be using right here. Upper rows Naples yellow, and we'll just say here is my head. Now I'm not going to do much with that except to put this in, right, just like that. All right, that's all I'm going to do. Then I'm going to take some water, and I'm going to bring it down into the cavity of the body here, the upper torso. A little bit too much, sorry about that. All right, so we're going to do that. So let's take the upper torso, and we're just going to change the color up a little bit. I'll bring this as I'll make this a sort of a blue. We'll do cobalt blue just to put some color in here. All right, and I'm just going to round the shoulders off a little bit to give it a little bit more interest. But here's my upper torso right there. And then what I'm going to do is just come down a little bit more. A little bit of water. Okay. And I'm going to come down in here. Now we have two things that we can do. This is the legs. So we can bring the legs in a little bit hard, a little bit more, a little darker. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing up. Don't want to sound like I'm rushing this. I apologize if I sound that way. But I'm mixing up a dark, so I'm mixing up my burnt sienna with my French ultramarine blue. And what I'm going to do is just start over here and come down with the legs. Now I don't want to make, what I don't want to do is I don't want to necessarily fill this all in. So we're just going to come over here and put my leg in like that. So I'm leaving a little bit of light space right there. Okay, so it's a little bit darker. And then what I'm going to do is take my tissue and lighten up some of that. And I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to pick up a little bit more of this facial tones, the facial color that I was working with. Added a little bit of blue to this. I want to cap this with a little bit, bring it right down into the upper torso. Now the arms, same way, right? I'm going to add a little bit of my flesh tone arms over here, so we'll bring the arms down, and then I'll put the rest of the shirt in. But here's what I'm doing. All I'm doing is just bringing the arms down into this area here, and I'm not doing any hands or anything else. Just give it a little bit of a touch, so you can get a feel for this. Let me see if I can move that in a little bit more. I'll move the camera up and see if I can come down. Well, I'm not sure I can do that. Let's go back and we'll change this up a little bit. I'll have to show you a little bit closer when I get there. Okay, but let's just say that that's our figure number one. Now, what I have here is a lot of pigment, and I don't necessarily want a lot of pigment in this. I want to keep this light. Okay, So we're just going to give it a little bit of a touch. Okay, let's go on to this wonderful figure that I have over here. We're going to use a little bit of green for the body. So I'm going to mix a little bit of, we'll take a little bit of my cerulean blue, and I'm going to add a little bit of my new gamboge to it. So what I'm doing is I'm just making a green color. It makes no difference what colors you're using on this stuff, by the way. All right, so we're just going to come over here and we're just going to give it, again, a little bit of tonal value. Add a little bit more water to this side, keep it lighter. Okay. And I'm not sure if this is one dress, but we'll do this. Okay. Now, we did that for our figure. Let's put our head in. Go back and take a little bit of that flesh tone, and we'll just put a little head in there, and we'll just bring the arms down this way. Okay, and a little bit of the I gotta get that a little stronger up there so you can see it. And that's just a little dark spot. I'll actually, in this case here, what we'll do is we'll make the dark spot sort of red. Right, so it makes no difference really. See, I'm putting a red face in there. Who cares? All they are figures in the background. Doesn't make any difference. Okay, so we'll go back in and we'll add a little bit more value to this here because her dress is sort of swinging out. Let's swing the dress out a little bit more. Old-fashioned down to the lower part below the knees, almost to the calves. But it just gives you the idea of a female figure. Okay, that's all I'm really trying to do. Let's take one here. We got this woman here, and we got a guy here. So I'll make his face blue. We'll actually do these as two. I'll put them both of these faces blue. Why blue? Doesn't make a difference. They're in the background. All they are is figures, and the figures that are back there are just there because they're enhancing the painting. All right. So here, we'll just do this. And what I'll do is I'll just do that and put a shirt on him, and I'm going to put a pair of slacks, sort of a pair of slacks on this person here. Put leg out here, leg out there, shoes, and we'll end up. Let's bring that blue right down into there. And we'll put the arms and we'll make the arms come over and out. Okay, so that's all, just something like that. And this fellow over here with a red shirt. Okay. Now the more colorful these are, the better they're going to be because they'll stand out much more. Okay. All right, so I'm adding a little bit of my burnt sienna with my blue, so I'm getting it nice and dark over here, and I'm coming down, and I'm just gonna pair of slacks here. Leg is gonna go out that way, and you can see basically the characteristic shapes of them. They're all working. They're doing something. I can always go back now and say, okay, I want to make this a little bit darker. That one a little bit darker there, and maybe bring that in a little bit more. All right, and maybe put some hair on this guy here. A little bit of hair on that person there. So we can start to add some stuff to that if you want to just maybe make this a little bit more interesting and brighter in terms of value. And the neck should be a little higher. You never see the neck, by the way, on these little figures. All you're really doing is you're seeing the body, the shape, the general shape of this stuff that's going on. Okay, so that's the idea of just putting together some small figures. I'm going to just change this color up so you can, I'm just doing this so you can see it a little bit more, all right? We'll just add a little stronger green top to that person right there. And I'm going to end up over here adding a little bit more of this blue over here with this individual. Short sleeves, okay? Carrot shapes. That was a carrot shape, if you remember correctly. All right? And if you're having a hard time seeing the face, we can always take a little bit of dark and put it in. All right, so let's assume that this face is a little bit tougher to see here. We'll just make it dark. It makes no difference. It really doesn't. Okay? There's spots. They're little figures. Now, with those 4 little figures that are in there, maybe they're on the ground. You know, they have to be on the ground. It's probably a little bit of a shadow. Ideally, when you're doing something like this, and we'll get into this, but ideally this is maybe a slight shadow that's happening. So depending on where the sunlight is coming from, maybe there's a little bit of shadow that's happening with these guys, you know, down in this area. If there's lights, so let's say the light's coming from that direction, okay, and I may want to just, I think I'm going to change that up a little bit, change the color of his shirt a little bit there. All right, now I'm not perfect. You don't have to be. No need. All you're really looking to do here is to create a characteristic shape that's indicative of an individual, female or male, and put them in. So that's one way to do it. Now, if I'm going to do a few, let's take a few figures behind that. I want to put a figure maybe in the back a little bit, but behind there's the head back there. We'll do a couple of them, a couple of heads back over here, and I'll take this a little bit more red. And we'll just come in here and put a little bit of red in there for that guy, and maybe a bit of a stronger blue in here. Okay, and perhaps maybe some brown slacks on them. Doesn't have to be much, just look like something, right? Yeah. Okay, we're just going to put this back here. Put a couple of people in the background. So now you got about 7 people that are over there. The people in the background are going to be even less detailed. Okay? So that's one way to handle that. So let me do something here. Let me just move this. I'm going to pick this up, and I'm going to move this down a bit, and we're going to get closer to this. Let me just move my board down in this area here, and now with the board down here, what I can do is let's just put it like this. There you go. About like that. All right. So maybe now I can. Let's go. Pull this in closer so that you can actually see this even a little bit more, okay? So we zoomed in a little bit on that. You see, so you got a bunch of people that are either walking toward you, walking away from you, all part of what would be a painting These would be in a painting, and that's just one of the things to do. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to do it again for you. We're going to redraw it out so that you can see what's going on. Okay, so now we can't see it anymore, can we? So let's go back. Bring them back into focus. Fix my board up a little bit so that it's absolutely, there you go. Sorry about that. Let me move the camera over here. Okay, so what we want to do now is to go back and show you in the way I did this again. I'm going to take the pencil and do exactly what I just did. We'll just, again, resketch it out. All right, so we'll do it right here. Remember what I started to say? We're sketching in a carrot shape. That was the first figure that I started, carrot shape. Okay, now, if this is the head, the shoulders are going to come down anyway, so that sort of rounds. That's like the top of a carrot. And coming down to a point over here where the legs are here, and I'm just coming up halfway and drawing my light line. Once you put that light line in there, that line suggests upper torso, lower torso. Upper torso rather than lower body part. So this is the legs. These are going to be the legs down here. Whether they're together or we pull them apart, these are going to be the legs. And the upper part of the torso is right here. The arms have to hang off the shoulders. And I'm just making them very easy. And yeah, the guy's a bodybuilder. Well, this person has got very broad shoulders. You don't have to make them that broad, by the way. Yeah, you can just sort of do it narrowly, and we'll give this guy a little longer, thinner look with carrot shape still. All right, come over here in the center. Here's his legs. And there's his head. All right, this is a broad-shouldered guy. So the carrot top is huge. It's large. Usually what ends up happening is the head, the width of the head, or the width of the shoulders is about 2.5 to 3 heads. And generally speaking, from top to bottom, what ends up happening is you have 8 heads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 8 heads high. 7.5 to 8 heads high is generally the figure. Okay, so I'm just coming down here right now and just putting that in just to show you what it is. All right, so what else did I say? Okay, I did that way. I did that diamond shape or that shield shape. All right, so if it's a lady, and I can make these, you know what we could do is actually, here, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's do more of a characteristic figure that's more interesting. All right, we're going to do a pear shape. Look. We'll take this and we'll just do a pear. All right? And we'll put the head in here, and we'll do a little small short legs. All right? So we got this, and then we'll bring our legs over here. So now we got a sort of a pear-shaped individual coming down here. And with that, that's going to happen right there. So I'll just do that so that we'll put a couple more in here. We'll play around with this, okay? How about side profile? Let's do something like this. Okay, we have this. Now we can't have the legs here. If this is our head, and and the arms are coming this way. Right, we got this person sitting in a chair. Okay, so we'll make the person sitting in a chair. Here's a chair. So what happens is that the legs got to come down here. Arms are over here. We got another arm that's going to be probably in back. We're not going to really see it. We'll just see the shoulder. And then we'll see that head that's sitting right there. All I'm doing is I'm just changing this up a little bit. Okay? So if I have this person, here's another individual. Look, who's near. Yeah, here's the thing. Legs coming out this way, so we make an A. Leg down this way. Here's my A. All right, that gives me this individual's legs. Here's the lower leg, upper leg. Body's coming down this way, sitting on the ground, shoulders right here, arm coming down this way, head sort of bent over a little bit in that area, in that sort of direction right there. So we'll just wrap that up. We'll paint it so the individual will be looking like it's sitting down. Okay? All right. So again, what do we want to do? Well, over here, in all the cases over here, what I did is I did wet into dry. If you remember, right? We did it wet into dry. So this time what I want to do is I'm just going to wet my figure first. All right, so I'm going to come over here, wet the figure. Let the water, we're just going to come in here nice and let the water take over. All right. And we're gonna just make our figure based on what the water does. In other words, I'm not controlling it. I'm allowing it to paint itself. So when I paint, you see how dark I painted that in there? The head, or the color of the head, is now blending into the body of the figure. That's going to give you a much more interesting character. It's going to be looser, much more watery, much looser, and much more interesting. So I can come over here and I'll add some darker blue here. All right, to watch. All right. So I can take that, and this is sort of like allowing the water to do its thing, and then creating the figure around that. So we're going to do the same thing with this guy over here. Wet it. Come over here, wet it down. This is, right, long, thin legs, arms. Okay, so again, here's my head. There's the water. My head is right here. I'm letting it just blend. I'm just letting it go. Okay, so I'm going to end up taking a little bit of my lavender and put it in there. I'm going to let it alone, let it go. Let the water do whatever it wants to do over here, and then we'll just add something to that. Okay, so here, same thing. We got the faces up here, or the hair in this case. We'll put that in there, and I'm going to take the water, come down here. We'll just do a pear-shaped individual. We'll add a little bit of tonal value in here, so we're going to add some red. Now I want you to see how these can create. These were more controlled in terms of shape. See what's happening over here? This is just doing its own thing. I'm going to do that one. Let's do this one. We'll come over here and we'll just do this. We'll do this figure here that's sitting in a chair. And I'll use, take a little bit of water, darker side, lighter side, a little bit of my blue, the shirt's down here, the legs are going to come over here. Okay, sitting in a chair, and get some dark right down in this area here for the shoes. Okay, now I want you to see how the characteristic, this is very free and very flowing. It has a lot more character, believe it or not, when I say this, it has a lot more interest, a lot more energy, a lot more character to this, because it's loosely done. It's a lot of fluid, a lot of water. This wasn't, if you remember correctly. Remember when I did that? It wasn't as much. So that's that. I want to leave it alone a bit, and then I'll put my chair in there, because I don't want it really to blend into the back of that. All right, so this guy's just sitting on the ground just over here, and we can do the same thing with him. Let's take some brighter. All right, we'll wash him in with a little bit of water and add some color to that. Bring this head up there. And let's take his arms down there, and we'll make, okay, so we're gonna just okay, here's his sitting on the ground. Okay, so we can see some just basic shapes, right? Just fluid. I'm going to show you something else. Another way to handle this. That's one way. This is looser. A little bit too much water in here right now. It's going to take a while for that to dry off. Once this dries up, once this gets to be a little bit drier, I can go back in. That should be dry enough, for instance, right now. I can go back in and control that a little bit more. Maybe what I'll do is go back in and put, maybe make a darker here. Maybe let's open jacket. Maybe it's got a belt here. Something maybe bring the jacket down here like this a little bit more, maybe darker. Okay, so you can go in and you can play around a little bit more with this stuff if you want. All right, little his shoes. Maybe make that a little bit more interesting here. Add a little bit of darker value right there. Okay, so see what I mean? There's much you can do when you start to play around with these. Maybe this guy's shirt is right here. So maybe it's got a one piece, I don't know, we'll see what happens. But all I'm really doing is just playing around with just some figures, that's all I'm doing. Putting little shapes in here, little light shape right there. Okay, something in the back over here. These little figures, you got what you need to do is to play with these. Just work them out. But they all should have something down here. I mean, shadows. Right. This guy's sitting. Okay, we're going to fix that once that dries up a little bit more. Okay. That's the idea. These are figures. Now here's something that's interesting. Let's do something else. Let's take some of this dark stuff. I mean, I'm not sure. We're going to play around with this. How else can we do these light figures? These unassuming figures. These figures that are just in the background, that are just there for whatever they want to do. They're there to just help the painting. Well, we can come over here and we can spatter. All right. Some dark. Okay. And I can come over here and I can start to pick and choose. I want to take and remove this. Remove these up here. Remove these over here because I don't want them that high. Okay. But I can come over here and start and do something with this. I can come over here and take a spatter like that. We can start to make some little heads, right? Look, I'm going to do these all in the same value. These little carrot shapes. All I'm doing is taking and enhancing what I had here, which was spatter marks. To help me get me oriented as to what I wanted to do, and I've got some stuff that I can put in little marks here that'll use these little marks basically to create groupings of people. Right? What are we doing? We're having fun. We're playing. Now I'm basically doing these without reference, just using these dots as a base, these spattered dots that is a base for me to play around with. Basically it's just a group of people that are going to be in a plaza, I guess, or something like that. We'll see. All right. Lots of little people. And you can then change up tone of these things. They're nothing but marks, but when you get away from them, they start to look like a bunch of people walking around out there. And the other thing is this, it's basically all of these. I'm going to do a bigger person right here. So let's just take this. We'll make him make this individual come over here. So we got a bigger individual that's there. And I'm going to put another bigger individual right here. I'm going to block some of these out. Okay, and maybe we'll make another one. Let's just make a bigger individual, even bigger than those, somewhere. How about right here? Big head. Okay, and we'll just come in here and we'll just do all right. Okay, so now we got this individual here, a couple of smaller individuals there, a little bit of people back there. I didn't complete anything. These are just shapes. These are just all they are. All we're doing is we're playing around with shapes. All right, we're playing around with chess shapes. Look. Dark shapes, light shapes, varying kinds of shapes that okay. And then we want this guy here. He's got dark. Okay. And then we want really maybe make this head here coming up. You know, it's just you'll let your imagination take hold and do this, and you can have fun with it. What it looks like. Just let it go. We got this guy's chair here. He'll put that in. Put this in here. So we got him sitting in a chair. Now, obviously these are very sort of carrot-shaped or carrot-like. They don't have that tremendous amount of animation that I had over here. But that's also stuff that we can do. And we can do them this way. We can put a figure in here by putting a head in. Here, we'll just make it a purple head, right? This is going to go in this direction. That's going to go in that direction, right? So what did I say? You got your cavity. Which is basically the upper chest. Making this a little bit darker for you so that you can see this. So if I'm going to make this animation, right, so if my leg is out here, this guy's leg is over here, and this is, all right, so what's happening here? Is he sitting, or is the leg up and coming down? Maybe this is a suggestive of the leg coming up and down again. So if that's the case, because I'm just playing with this stuff, hey, maybe I can bring this leg up and make this come down. Okay, and it looks like this is sort of arms coming this way, arms coming that way kind of thing. So perhaps maybe this person is again, sitting on a chair. Okay. So we put them sitting down, and then what I would do, because this is all dark, of course, is just to start to block out some of this stuff. Lighten up a little bit here. Maybe lighten up a little bit up there. Okay. Okay, maybe come down. So we have a variation in terms of our overall look. And let this guy duck here. separate that leg. So you can start to see change of form using some shadows in here. And what this guy is doing, I don't know what he's doing here, but we'll just add his arm. I don't know, we'll play around with it. But you can see what I'm talking about. You got a wide variety of things you can do with this. Okay. Let's make this guy's butt a little bit more. And maybe we'll change his hair up a little bit more. Hey, maybe it's a woman. Skirt, high skirt, who knows? Walking that way, walking in the direction of that, everything over there. All right. So you can start to see what happens. You can play with this stuff and just have fun with it. Now, it's a good idea to use reference when you're doing this, because quite frankly, doing this stuff without reference is a little bit more difficult. When you're working like this, you tend to not really know what to do. So to give you some benefit, we'll take a couple of things here. I've got this. I don't know where I found it, but I'm not going to do all of this fancy stuff. But I got this sort of these different there's some figures and just characteristic shapes of figures that are bouncing around here. We'll just put them up here, and I'll just sort of take and look at this, and maybe we'll come up with something like a. Let's see what we can do here. We got that, and we have. Okay, now I'm just following, all I'm doing here is I'm just looking at those figures and saying, well, the characteristic shapes, the characteristic shape of this individual tends to be doing something like that. Okay, so you see what I'm saying is that you can take any of these figures and just sort of work out just some interesting things that are happening here. You got something we can work with. All right. So I got that little characteristic thing over there. Now maybe this is probably a hat on this individual, okay? And if we're going to start to do a little bit more detail, we can do that, but we don't need to necessarily do that at all. This is just all they are brush strokes. All right, so there's that individual coming down here, and we just want to put some darker shoes on here. Okay, so you can see what ends up happening. We got a character that's moving. These things here, when you have stuff to work off of something like this here, you have something that's interesting because you have people that are in varying different degrees of movement, and we have more to work with. You can use these as the base for what we want to do, but we got a lot more to work with. Okay, so we can always go back and do something kind of cool to do this stuff. We may have, let's take this figure here. Well, I'm just going to water this in right now. All right, so we have the arm coming down this way, and then we got a torso, and we have a flare of her dress. Okay, and then we have her legs. One leg is coming down, sort of like this, and the other leg is out and down here. And we'll just bring an arm over here. So you see, I've just created a sort of a movement. It's the silhouette. That's all it is. It's a silhouetted movement. All right, we'll just drop some of that in here. Let's see where it goes. A little bit darker up on the top. I want to come down here, and I'm going to just add a little bit of a blue in here, and I'm actually going to let this bleed down. Okay, and we'll add a little bit of what do we have up there? How about a little darker? A little bit of a darker value over here. So we can see we've created a character that has some shape to it. And if this is maybe we gotta I don't know, some sort of a bag that the person's carrying. Okay. So you can see how interesting you can get this. You can move them around a little bit, change values, change colors, scrape in, scrape out. This one here, we gotta just change up a little bit more because it's not quite where I wanted it to be. So I'll just take a little bit of water. And do that with it. And I'm gonna take this arm here, do the same thing with this arm. Take a little bit of water. We'll change this up a bit. Okay, so I'll put something in her hand. I don't know what. Cane or something. She's holding on to something. He, she, whatever. So that works out. That works out. This characteristic shape is kind of cool. Characteristic shapes. That's all we're dealing with here. Characteristic shapes. Here's this person's arm here. We're just going to do this. All right. And maybe we'll bring a little bit of that face down. A little bit more of that, this value in here, and lighten up that head. All right. And maybe what else I'll do is just maybe sort of come down here. She's got a kilt on, I guess, or he's got a kilt on. I'm not too sure what. But you can see, I mean, basically you can see what ends up happening is you can really do some interesting things with this. Do this. I'm going to make this a little bit. Put a dress on her. These are things that you can end up doing, play with, and you should really come in here and just sort of work some of this all out. All right, so we'll do that. I'm going to do a few more for you. I'm going to take and do another piece of paper. We'll turn it over. We can do some more figures. By the way, if we're doing something like this, and then ultimately we got something that's, let's say, well, I'm going to just sort of do it right in here, but we've got this sort of city street or this scene over here. Once it's dry, I can come in here. Well, I guess that wasn't too dry, was it? But I can come in here and we can just sort of come over and make this all a plaza. So I'm wetting all of this. Right here, and I'm going to end up running some value in here. Wet into wet, just when it's just wet. Look at just coming down here, all right. This is all wet. So we're going to make this a little bit more like a street scene that people are walking through, and I can come over and also do the same thing at the top. What I would do at the top is I'd come over here and I just sort of wet this all up, sort of work myself around some of these figures that are over here with a little bit of water. All right. So all of this is going to be some water between them. And maybe what we'll do is we'll come in here and we'll put in a I'm just going to come over here and put something in here that's going to be ultimately indicative of some buildings back here. All right, so these guys are going to be walking toward those buildings. All right, so I just put those in and leave them alone. Let them dry out. All right, we'll just leave them alone and then come in here and just put a few accents in there. What I probably do is let it dry and do a little bit more accent in some of these little guys if I was going to do an actual street scene. But that gives you some idea as to how you can play around with this and what you can do with it. Okay, so let's move on. Let's just take and pull this out of here. And I'm going to put another piece of paper up. And we'll see what we can do to do a few more of these. Got a bunch of these are all sort of models, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here now and draw this guy's head, shoulder coming down, his arm coming down this way, pretty straight. Body's over here. He's a little bit cocked. So this guy's shoulders are coming down this way. So his hips are going to be more that way. And the guy's legs are going to end up coming over this way here and down. Okay, and then he's got his boots on. What was I'm going to actually make one boot go the other way. Just a little bit more interesting, okay? All right, so that's that. And then this guy's shoulder's coming out a little bit more, and then his arm is coming down here. Okay. His hair up in this area, and about where I want to be, roughly. So we'll draw him, we'll put him in there. Okay, and we got a, let's see, give me a character that's, I like this lady here. Let's try this one here. The woman that's down in this area here. We'll put her head in here. She's got her shoulders way out. She must have shoulder pads on. I'm sure she does. Okay, now she is moving out in this direction. Okay, which basically means that you can't, if the cavity, let me show you something. So here's her chest cavity. All right, her chest cavity is coming out this way. Her shoulders are over here. All right, now this has to come around. Okay, so this is coming this way. This has to go back this way. So her legs have to come back underneath. Okay, so she's got to be able to balance herself, and that's got to line up with her shoulders, or else there's going to be a problem. I mean, she'll be falling down if she doesn't. Okay, so here's her knee, and this leg is over here, and her, okay, she's doing this. She's bending backwards, and this is one of those. This is one of those striking poses that models do to show off their clothes. Don't like that. Hang on a second. Okay, so this is going to come down here, and then this is going to come out. I'm going to come back here a little bit more. Okay, now her head, or his head, her head's going to be there. She's got a hat on, and her skirt is sort of flaring out. And she's got this jacket. So we'll play around with that a little bit, and we'll do, let me see, is there anything else that's more interesting? Same person. What are they? Same person on the back side, same person on the front side? Oh my gosh. Let me go get another one. Let's see. What did I do with them? Here, let's see. Any more? Are these all the same people? Ah, I like this. Okay, so here we've got a nice little feeling of a lady right here with her hands, her arms up. Both arms are up on her head. So she's doing this. And we're just going to catch the general characteristic of the woman. All right? Okie doke. Hips. Okay, up, and then this way, and this way here. Okay. All right, so cool. So we got, and then this is the belt. And the hips should be really higher, actually, up here. That actually hip should be even higher than that up here. Okay, so the long dress on that one there. And let me see, is there anything else that I can do? I didn't realize this, but all of these, there's a lot of repetitive people in this. Same thing over and over again. One other. Well, let's do one more. So we have this arm coming down this way. We have this long coat. Same thing here, long coat coming down. Right. Arm down, coming into the pocket. Belt. Skirt. Leg. Leg. Shoes, high heels. Shoes, high heels. High shoes, high heels. That's it. Oh, we'll make the coat. Okay, so there's just a couple of figures that we'll play around with. So, what I'm going to do is just take a look at, let's take a look at this guy right here. Let's wet them first, okay? Let's wet them first. So we're just going to take water. We got our figures roughed out. Water, clear water. I'm dampening the figure, just the figure. All right, dampening the figure, this one the same way. Dampening the figures. Okay. All right, so let's get those, we'll get those two dampened up. We'll take a little bit of my opera rose. We'll make that nice and bright. I'm going to make this duller red, but I want a nice warmth in here, all right? We're just going to, okay, so we'll put some of that in there, and we're going to add a little bit of alizarin crimson on it, right there and right in here. I got a little, okay, I'll just come in here with this is just a lot of water. Right, the shirt's done. Okay, so he's got jeans on. Dark pair of jeans. I'm going to actually let the red run into his jeans. Okay, let the red run into his jeans. And as we come down, we'll get this a little bit lighter. Okay, the reason for that is we want to change up the value. See, a little lighter down here, a little darker up there, that red's going to run right into there. No problem. No problem at all. Okay. That makes it a more interesting character. Okay. And now we're going to end up coming down here, and we'll just build this shoe up here. In the same way with this, we're just going to build this shoe up over here. Okay. Now, you see what that nice, long, thin, kind of interesting look there? let's do a little bit. We want a fleshy tone. I'm going to put a fleshy tone in here for his face. Okay, and I'm going to put a fleshy tone down here for his arms. Enough. Don't touch it. That's all we want to do. I'll go back if I have to do something with that, but that's what I'm going to do right there. I'll put it, when it dries, I'm going to put a little hair on the top, but I'm not going to do eyes, nose, mouth, nothing like that. It's not what we want to do. We don't want to get into any of that kind of stuff. Okay, so we have this other character here that we just gotta find the shot that I took it from. Where is it? Where is it? Well, it's around here somewhere. All right, so we wet the figure, right? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change. I don't want to get that so bright, so let's work in some of this character, this color here. All right. This is what we're going to do here. We got this guy is going to be the basic color for this, and then we're going to end up coming in here and making this dress is going to come out a little bit more. Okay. Okay, and now we're going to end up bringing this down because this is actually a jacket. Okay. All right. Dress, we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to take a little bit of my real pretty warm values for the face. And again, the face doesn't have to be this. All right, but we're going to put it in there. I'm just looking at my figures here and to try to define what's going on. That's all leg. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here with this beautiful color and bring down the legs. We'll bring down the legs. Okay. Knees, calves, and once the legs are down, these people have these ridiculously high heels, shoes on. Okay. Okay. This guy here. Okay, we're gonna do a pretty. That's one of those long gowns, I think, if I remember correctly. Yep. So we'll do that as a long gown. So we're gonna wet it. Right, we haven't wet them yet. We'll wet it up. Wet this, wet this. Wet this, wet this. We're going to flow in the fleshy tones. All right. We'll make her fleshy first. And then I'm going to put some color in there. Then I'm going to add the dresses. But here's her legs. And her legs. Okay. Okay, so we got the flesh part of it, her done. All right, so we can put on a nice blue dress, nice red dress. We'll do something on that. But I'm going to end up, I want to just come in here. Maybe we'll do a red dress. Let's do that. Let's just come down here. Okay. I'm not going to go all the way down. I'm going to leave it there. Short. Above the knees. Why not? Okay, and then we'll do this beautiful neck wrap around her head. Let it go. See what happens. All right. Now that hip wouldn't be, it's really sticking way up. Actually, her hip would be more up. Probably, it's out far. It's out actually too far. But it would be more up, sort of like that. But now I got to kill all this, and because I did it with red, I can't do that. And I just put this all the way down, so guess what's going to happen? That's going to run down there. Well, we'll let it go. She'll have red chartreuse on or whatever. I didn't want that, but that's the way it went. All right. This guy here, camel hair coat. So we're doing yellow ochre, right? Yellow ochre. Okay. My coat. So my coat is going to be here. My coat is going to be over here. The one leg's over there, but this is a leg in here. The coat is going to be behind the leg. All right. Okay. So let's do. We did that. We need some of that pretty warm stuff for the face. And that's about it, because we're really not seeing anything else. We're not seeing the hands, we're not seeing anything else. We're going to deal with this with a white tunic. A white dress. Here, I'll tell you what we'll make this come down like this. All right, we'll do a little bit of white shirt, and we'll do a brown or dark area in here. I don't want to do the dark skirt, the belt. And I'm going to end up having nice dark boots. Okay. Oh. I have a problem. No woman is going to want to... Let me see if I can get that out. I don't think I can get that out, because it's red stains. Oh, maybe I can. Yeah, maybe I can. There. Well, we're going to take that out for now. Clear water. Okay. A little bit better. Didn't like that butt sticking way up. Way out. Okay. So, this is her leg. It's going to be bleeding into that. His, her, whatever. I'm going to put a hat on this guy. About right. Okay, close enough. We'll make some darker marks down here. And we're going to wrap that underneath her chin. Okay, a little belt. All right. All right. So see how you can do this? You can actually come in here, have a lot of fun when you're doing this stuff, work it out. Let's put some, put a little bit of hair on this guy over here. I'm going to leave that alone because that sort of looks good. And we're going to make the skirt on this individual back here. It's going to be darker. All right, so underneath, right? And okay. All right. About it. About it. Don't want to do too much. We don't want to get to the point where we're just overdoing this stuff. All right, and I don't want to do any eyes, I don't want to do any nose, I just want to put them in. So this, what we have to do now is we have to just come back over here. This needs to be a little bit darker in a lot of spaces. So we're going to take a little bit of yellow ochre again. A little bit more yellow ochre. And now that we've got that in there, we'll make her fleshy first. And then I'm going to put some color in there. Then I'm going to add the dresses. But here's her legs. And her legs. Okay. Okay, so we got the flesh part of it, her done. Hey everybody, thanks an awful lot for being with me. I'm your host, Tony Visco. I hope you learned a little bit about putting figures in paintings to make them a little bit more humanizing. Again, I'm your host, Tony Visco. This is Painting for Pleasure. Till the next time.